Good day or good morning, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues. Mr. Koba talking. I'm here to do the memo discussion with our teachers for paper 1 September. Let's go straight to question 1 because I have 2 hours and then it's a 3-hour paper, so some of the things I'm going to be fast. Let's start with question 1. Question 1 says the table 1 below is an extract from Tsepiso's cell phone contract bill. So you are given the information. Then it goes to say use table 1 and the information above to answer the questions that follow. The first question says 1.1.1 explain the meaning of the term cost in this context. That is very important. The meaning of the term cost in this context. Now let's look at the answer to that. The correct answer that is shown on the memo, it says cost is the amount charged for the device or for the phone. Cost is the amount charged for the device or for the phone. Now we have some of the answers there, options. The fee that you pay for the phone, or amount paid for the phone, or amount paid for device, or the fee that you pay for the device. So those are the explanations to cost in the given context from the question paper. I hope colleagues understand that in the given cost. So moving on, question 1.1.2, it says identify the total cost of the device. Identify the total cost of the device. Now let's look at the possible answer to that. The possible answer to that question 1.1.2, the answer should be 6,399. 6,399. You give 2 marks for 2 RT correct amount, and then the other option will be 266,62, which is amount that is paid per month. You multiply by 24, which is 2 years, and then the answer will be 6,399. Then you give a mark. It should be an accurate mark. It's an accurate mark. Now we move into question 3. Question 3, 1.1.3, sorry. 1.1.3, it says write down the number of outstanding months for this contract. Write down the number of outstanding months for this contract. Now the answer to that question, should be 3, nothing else. 2 marks for 3, it's an accurate mark. If you check under your explanation column, accurate mark. And sorry, let's go back on top of that. It says answer only full marks. Answer only full marks. Now 1.1.3, the answer should be 3. It's an accurate mark. 2, a correct number. Nothing else is 3, nothing else. 1.1.4. 1.1.4, it says calculate A, the amount charged for cell C calls. Cell C calls. Calculate A, the amount charged for cell C calls. Right, the answer to 1.1.4, we have A equals to 400 minus 112.25 minus 11 rand and 5 cents. Then your answer should be 276.70. Now, the allocation of marks, or it says there, one method with accuracy, subtracting from 400, and then it's an accuracy mark for value of A. And then it goes on to explain to say no penalty for subtracting 0, because there's 0 on the table. If you look at your table, there's 0 there. And then the other options, it's 400 minus 123,30. Then you still get 276,70. Now let me explain where did we get that 123,30. Learners will add, to get that, learners will add 112 plus 112,25 plus 11 rand and 5 cents. Then they will get 123 and 30 cents. Then if they subtract that to 400, they still get the correct answer, which is 276,70. Then you still award a mark for subtracting, a method with accuracy, subtracting from 400. And then the other option, learners will add to prove 400. They will add 11 rand 5 cents. They will add that with 112,25, and then add it, the answer that we are looking for, which is 276,70, which is equals to 400. In this case, we only give 1 mark for method with accuracy, for adding those numbers. But if the learner concludes by saying, therefore, A is equals to 276, then learner will get full marks. But in this case, if they add and then they get 400 as an answer, we give 1 for method with accuracy. Method with accuracy. But if they conclude to say A is 276 and 70 cents, then you give that learner full marks. I think colleagues understand that. Moving on to question 115. Let's look at the question 115. Question 115 says, determine the difference between the amount used, that is very important, the amount used for other mobile calls and the amount used for national fixed line calls. Please, colleagues, determine the difference between the amounts used for other mobile calls and the amount used for national fixed line calls. Let's check the answer to that. The answer to that is straightforward. It's 127, which you get from the information on the table there. It's 127. You subtract 12, and then you get the answer as 115 minutes. Now let's look at the allocation of marks. It's a mark. It's 1 MA subtracting, 1 MA subtracting correct amounts. Correct amounts is what? Is 127. When you subtract 12, it's 1 mark for method with accuracy. And then another mark, it's an accurate mark for difference, which is 115. No penalty for units, colleagues. No penalty for units. So for 1.1.5, we don't have other options. It's like that. Moving to question 1.1.6. 1.1.6. The question there, it says, express the monthly payment as a percentage of the outstanding commitment value. Expressed the monthly payment as a percentage of the outstanding commitment value. Right. Let's look at the possible answer to that. Possible answer to that, it's 1.1.6. Right. So if Elena write 266,62 and then divide that by 799.98 cents, multiply that by 100, and the learner will get 33.33%. 33.33%. We're expressing the monthly payment as a percentage of the outstanding commitment value. Right, now let's look at the allocation of marks. Allocation of marks will be method with accuracy for calculating a percentage. There it is, method with accuracy, for meaning all the values must be there. All the correct values must be there. And then getting the answer of 33.33%, it's an accurate mark. So it's 1A for accurate correct percentage. 1 accurate mark for correct percentage. So there's no CA there, colleagues. I want to repeat that. There's no CA in that question. It's an accurate mark. So learner will get 2 marks for that. And to remind the colleagues again, no penalty for rounding. No penalty for rounding. The learner will write 33.3. So there's no penalty for rounding. Now we move into question 1.2. We move into question 1.2. We're still doing question 1. We're still doing question 1. Right. Question 1.2. There it is, question 1.2. It says the information below indicates the number of applications for education assistance, which is EAs, and general school assistance, which is GSAs, received by the Free State Department of Education in all the education districts. Then you are given the table with education districts, and then the other column is education assistance. The third column is general school assistance, and the last column will be total. Now, let's look at the questions now. Let's look at the questions. It says, use the information above to answer the questions that follow. The first question, it's 1.2.1. It says, is the data above regarded as discrete or continuous? The data above regarded as discrete or continuous? Right, let's look at the memo to that, or the answer to that. The correct answer of 1.2.1, it's discrete. It's discrete data. It's a discrete data. Now the allocation of marks, it's 2 for accurate, correct type of data. Right, we're moving to question 1.2.2. 1.2.2, the question was, write down the name of the education district that received the highest total number of applications. So that is the question for 1.2.2. Let's look at the memo. The answer to that question will be Moteo. If Elena write Moteo, it's 2 marks. No other answer. It's 2 marks. We don't have other options. 2A, correct district. It's 2 marks. Right, moving on, 1.2.3. 1.2.3. It says arrange the number of education assistant application in descending order. Arrange the number of education assistance applications in descending order. Descending order is from highest to lowest. Now let's look at the memo or marking guideline. It's 18,475, 8,771, 8,237, 6,737, and the last number is 876. Then a mark will be, let's look at the marks before you get to the possible answers. One accurate mark for all correct values, and another mark will be one accurate mark for correct order. We have correct values, 1 mark, it's an accurate mark, and then another accurate mark for correct order. And the order was descending order. Now, if learners write it in ascending order, the learner will get 1 mark for correct values because the order will not be correct. Learners will get 1/2. Sorry, 1/2 for correct values because the order will not be correct. And then if they use general school assistants, data, so the answer will be 17,450, followed by 103, followed by 103,000. I think something is wrong there, but we'll correct it, colleagues. And then those are the answers to that. Right. Now, the problem will be the learner is using the wrong data. And then if the learner uses the wrong data, the learner will get 1 mark. But that 1 mark should be in descending order. In descending order. In descending order. Right, let me correct the numbers. Sorry for that. The first number is 17,450. It's fine. And then the second number, I think that 3 should go out. It's 10,373. And then followed by 9,499. Followed by 8,707. And followed, the last number should be 1,158. So it's corrected now. The number should be 17,450, followed by 10,373, followed by 9,499, followed by 8,707, 8,207, sorry, 207, sorry for that, 207, correct that, it's 2 there, it's 8207, and the last one should be 1158. 11, colleagues, it's not 1158, it should be 1558. 1558. So we have corrected 3 numbers. We have corrected the second number, which is 10,373. Sorry about that, colleagues. And then the fourth number should be 8207. 8207. And then the last number should read 1558. 1558. Sorry about that, colleagues. Now, if the learner is using the correct data and the learner wrote only, instead of writing 5 numbers and the learner is one value is missing there, the learner will get 1 over 2 for writing, because all the values will not be there, so the learner will forfeit that mark, and then another mark will be correct order. So the learner will get a mark for correct order if one value is missing. Right, sorry about that, colleagues. Please make sure you capture the correct numbers. Right, moving on. 1.2.4. Calculate B, the total number of general schools assistant application. Calculate B, the total number of general school assistant application. We're still doing question 1. And then the answer to that. B equals to 1,558 plus 17,450 plus 10,373 plus 9,499 plus 8,207. So the answer should be 47,087. Now, let's look, the learner, okay, let's look, before you go to that option, let's look the mark allocation. It's method with 1MA adding correct values and 1A value of B. So there's no CA there. Please, colleagues, there's no CA. Let's look at that one. And then option number 2, it says B equals 90,183 subtract 43,096, and then the answer will be 47,087. Then let's look at the mark allocation. It's 1 mark for MA subtracting correct values, and another mark, it's an accurate mark for the value of B. Answer only, full marks, and it should be the correct answer. Answer only, full marks, and it should be the correct answer. I think colleagues are still following. Now we move into question 1.2.5. 1.2.5 says, write down the ratio of the number of education assistants to the number of general school assistants in Karib Education District in the form 1:. Now you are given the form in this case. So your answer should be 1:. Something. Now let's look at the answer to that. The answer to that will be 876 is to 1,558. And then when you simplify that, you get 1:1,78. Now let's look at the allocation of marks. It's 1 accurate mark for correct values in the correct order. Correct values in the correct order. Then you give a mark. And then the last mark will be a correct 1 mark. It's an accurate mark for correct ratio. And the correct ratio is 1:1,78. Then you give that learner another mark. Right, no penalty for rounding. So the learner, some learners will write 1:1,8. So no penalty for rounding. And then in this case, remember there, it's an accurate mark for correct values in the correct order. Now, if the learner swaps those two numbers, you can see they are swapped. And the learner ended up with 1,78 is to 1. The learner divided by 876 on both sides. Then there is no mark for that. The learner, so for that, you don't give any mark, no mark. No mark for that. And then the other one will be 1,558 is to 876. The learner still swap the numbers, but at the end, the learner divide by 876 for both sides, and then the learner end up correcting himself or herself, and the answer is 1 is to 1,78 as the original answer. The learner will forfeit 1 mark for correct values in the correct order, and then the learner will get 1 mark for correct ratio. Remember, it's an accurate mark. I'm going to repeat that. If the learner swapped the numbers and the learner write the correct ratio, the learner will get 1 mark for correct ratio and forfeit 1 mark for writing values in the correct not in the correct order. Writing values not in the correct order. So the learner will get only 1 mark. So I hope it's clear. When the learner swap the numbers and the answer is wrong, yes, the values are correct, but they are not in the correct order. So the learner will forfeit that mark, and the learner will forfeit another mark if the ratio is not correct. If the ratio is not correct, don't forget, no penalty for rounding. No penalty for rounding. Right, we're moving to 1.3. 1.3. 1.3, we are given a graph. Due to the high cost of electricity in South Africa, some residents choose to use illuminating paraffin. The graph below shows the cost per liter of that paraffin over a period of 12 months in 2020. Sorry, the graph is given. Now let's look at the questions. Use the information above to answer the questions that follow. 1.3.1, identify the type of graph used. Now let's look at the memo. The answer to that is a bar graph. It's an accurate mark. 2A correct graph. Moving to 1.3.2. The question says, write down the months on which the cost of paraffin was less than 5 rand. So now we're looking at the months. It's May and June. May and June for 1A, first month, and then 1A for the second month. 1A for first month and 1A for the second month. Those are the marks to that question. And then 1.3.3. It says, determine the number of liters of paraffin that can be bought with 225 rand in November 2020. In November 2020. Now let's look at that. So there's no option for that one. So learners should take 225 and divide it by the value for November, which is 5 Rand and 75, and then the answer will be 39.13 liters. Now let's look at the marks. 1 MA dividing correct values, meaning for a learner to get that mark, it should be correct values here. And then 1 accurate mark for correct number of liters, meaning here the answer should be exactly 39.13 liters, nothing else. There's no CA, colleagues, I repeat again, there's no CA there. Please, no penalty for rounding. No penalty for rounding. Right, the last question for question 1. The last question for question 1. The last question for question 1, it's convert 8 Rand 58 into cents. Convert 8 Rand 58 cents into cents. Right, let's look at the answer to that. The answer to that is 8 Rand and 58 cents. You multiply by 100, then the answer should be 858 cents. 858 cents. Now the marks, 1 MA multiplying by 100, and 1A amount in cents. No penalty for units. If the learner didn't write cents and the learner wrote only 858, you don't penalize the learner, because on the explanation column it says no penalty for units. No penalty for units. That was question 1. We are going to move into question 2. I hope teachers are taking notes, especially when coming to other explanations or other options. Right, question 2. Let's start with question 2. That is question 2. It says Nathan owns a factory that produces and sells leather jackets and leather purses. The cost of making a leather purse is 30,000 plus 210 per purse. Then you are given those are the pictures: leather jacket and leather purse, and the information is there. It says Nathan sells the leather jacket at 500 each and the purses at 350 each. The cost of producing a leather jacket is given by the formula, and the formula is given there. And then we are given a table again. So let's look at the first question. First question in question 2. Use table 3 and above information to answer the questions that follow. Explain the meaning of the term break even in this context. Break even in the given context. Break even the given context. Let's look at the answer to that. It says break even is when the cost of making leather jackets is equal to the income received from selling the leather jacket. The next one, it will say break even is when the cost of making leather purses is equal to the income received from selling the leather purses. So that is the explanation according to the given context. Colleagues, please, according to the given context. Now, there's other options there. when the learner writes where is no profit, or is the point where is no profit or loss for producing and selling leather jackets or purses, then you give that learner full marks because it's according to the given context. If the learner writes it's where the cost and the income meet, you don't give any learner because it's not according to the context. You give 0 for that. Or if they write it's where is the point where cost and profit are equal, you still give 0 because it's not according to the context. Not according to the context, not in context, we give 0. Please, colleagues, let's teach them now. If we say according to the context, what do we mean? What do we mean? Right. Another question, it's 212. Question 2.1.2. It says, write down the fixed cost for producing leather jackets. Write down the fixed cost for producing leather jackets. The answer to that is 54,000. And mark should be 2 for RT correct amount, 2 marks RT correct amount. And then if learners are writing 30 as the answer to that question, you give those learners 0 out of 2. 0 out of 2. Right, the next question is 213. 2.1.3. 2.1.3. It says, calculate the missing values C and D. Calculate the missing values C and D. Right, let's look. It's for 3 marks. Let's look at the possible answer. Now, the memo says C is 54,000 plus 150 multiplied by 400. Then the answer should be 114,000. Then D, it's 500 multiplied by 800, and the answer is 400,000. Now let's look at the mark allocation. It's 1 mark for SF substituting into the formula. Remember, this formula is given to you. So it's 1 mark for substituting into the correct formula, into the formula. 400, that is substituted there. And then 1 mark for the answer or value of C. Value of C. And then for D, we only give 1 mark for the answer. And it should be an accurate answer for value of D. It's an accurate mark for value of D. So we don't give a mark where the learner multiply 500 by 800. 500 rent by 800. We don't give a mark there. We give a mark at the answer, which is the value of D. Right. 214. 214, it says, show with calculations that the total income of selling 600 jackets and 800 purses is 58% of 1 million rands. 1 million rands. That is question 2.1.4. Let's look at the answer to that question. Now, first of all, you need to get the amount. It's 500. Remember, 500 is the selling price for the jackets, and 350 it's the selling price for the purses. Right, 500 multiplied by 600 plus 350 multiplied by 800. Then when you multiply 500 by 600, you get 300,000. Plus, when you multiply 350 by 800, then you get 280,000. Then when you add those two numbers, you get 580,000. And then from there, you have to express it as a percentage over a million. Then it will be 580 divided by a million multiply by 100. Then the answer should be 58. Remember, we are proving that the answer should be 58 here. Now let's look at the marks allocated there. If you check, we have 1 mark, method with accuracy, for multiplying 500 by 600. Another mark will be method with accuracy for multiplying 350 by 800. So it's 1 MA for jackets and 1 MA for purses. And then you see A, the total income. In other words, we don't mark 300,000 and 280,000. We mark the answer, which is 580,000, not those two numbers, please. It says CA, the total. Right. Now, when you see A, the total, you only see A, the total, if any value it's multiplied by 6, not 600, by 6. Remove that R, please. Not 600 rand. Any value multiplied by 600, not 100 rand, by 600. And any value multiply by 800. Any value multiply by 800. Colleagues, I want to get this correct. Sorry for that. Any value, anything multiply by 600. Yes, any value multiply by 600. Sorry for that. And any value multiply by 500. I want to repeat that. Any value multiply by 600, not 600 rand. And any value multiply by 500. Let's correct it. So that R is still there. It's 600. Any value multiply by 600 and any value multiply by 500. Colleagues, let me see. This, that. I'll come back to it, colleagues, just a moment. I'll correct it. I think something is not right there. But let me give you the other one, the other option. I'm sorry about that, colleagues. I'm sorry about that. But I'll come back to it now. Right. Income, then the other option is 500 multiplied by 600. You get that. And then you take that 300, you express it as a percentage out of a million. Then you multiply by 100, you get 30%. Then you go to the income. You go to the income, you multiply for purses. 350 multiplied by 800 equals to 280,000. And then we say we express that 280,000 as a percentage out of a million. Then you multiply by 100%. The answer is 28%. and then the answer is 28%. Then from there, by adding 30 plus 28, you get 58. 30 plus 28, you get 68. You get 68. 58. Then you don't mark 58. Now let's look at the marking. The marking will be the allocation of marks. It will be MA for multiplying 500 by 600. 500 by 600. And then it's MA mark. And then another mark. It's where you give for writing the number in full. Writing the number in full. Which number? The million. And it should be the correct number. Should be the correct answer there. Million, when they write million correctly so, then they will get 1 mark. It's an accurate mark. And then for multiplying by 100, it's another mark for method. So the learner will get 3 marks there. And then another 2, when the learner multiply 350 by 800. And then the learner will get 280,000. So 1 mark for MA, calculating the income from the purses. And then another mark for adding. Remember, we're not marking 58. We are marking. We are checking whether the answer. Remember, the answer is given here. So we're checking the answer, whether the answer, that statement or the answer is correct. So for adding 30 plus 28, then you get the percentage, the answer there, which is 58. And then we have the MCA for adding percentages. MCA for adding percentages. Right. Let's go back to that question again. 214. 214. 214, remember, I was saying, when do you see A? It's 500. Okay, any value multiplied by 6. Any value multiplied by 6. And any value multiplied by 500. 500, I want to correct that. So it's 500 and 350. So it will be any value. If they multiply 600 by any value, which is not 500, and multiplying 800 by any value, then you see A, the answer. Then you see A, the answer. Right, that was question 2.1.4. I hope I did justice, especially in that question, but colleagues will help. 214, maybe I did something which is not right there, but maybe colleagues will help me, and sorry for that. Sorry for that. I hope I did justice there in 2.1.4 to explain that. To explain that. Right, 215. 215. A line graph representing the total cost for producing leather purses is drawn on answer sheet 1. Draw on the same set of axis line graph representing the total income for selling leather purses. It's 4 marks. Here is the graph. Remember, we want only the graph for income. Right, let's look at the marks allocated. The income graph is that one which goes, it's a straight one which goes there. It's labeled income. Now let's look at the marks allocated for the graph. if the graph, it's one accurate mark for starting point, which is 0 and 0, you'll get that 1 mark. One accurate mark, any other correct point on the graph, any other correct point. And then another mark will be an accurate mark and point, which is 1,000 and 350,000. 1,000 and 350,000. Right. And then 1 CA joining points. 1 CA joining points. Even if it's not a straight line, you see A that. According to the points of the learners, you see A that. So I'm going to repeat, it's 0, 0 and 0. That is the coordinates for the starting points. 1, it's an accurate mark. 1 accurate mark for correct, any other correct point. And then 1 mark, it's an accurate mark for end point, which is 1,000 and 350,000. 1 mark for CA joining the points. Even if it's not a straight line, you give that learner a mark. You see A that. You see A that. Right, 2.2. 2.2. Now, 2.2 is the question is given to you. That is the information is given to you. The National Student Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS, is a South African government student financial aid scheme which provides financial aid to financial struggling students to help them with that. That is the information which is given to you. I'm looking at the time, colleagues. Time is against me. Right, that is the information which is given to you. Now, the first question, according to that information, it says identify the book allowance for 2020. Now, the book allowance for 2020 should be, according to the marking guideline, should be 5,200. 5,200. So it's an RT mark, 2 marks, RT. And then let's move to 2.2.2. 2.2.2, colleagues, it says show with calculations that a student staying at home will receive a total allowance of 7,450 in February 2020. So that is the answer to that. 15,000 in 2020, 15,000 will be, when you divide 15,000 by 10, you get 1,500. And the monthly travel allowance is 7,500 according to the information. You divide that by 10, and then it's 750. Remember, 10 months, February to the time that November. February to November is 10 months. Then it's 750. Then the total allowance will be 5,200 plus 1,500 plus 750. Then you'll get 7,450. Now let's look at the allocation of marks. You give a mark, it's an accurate mark for dividing 15,000 by 10. That is an accurate mark. And then for dividing 7,000, which is an allowance, monthly travel allowance, by 10, you get 750. It's a CA mark. And then for total allowance, it's 5,200 plus that. When you add that, you get 1 mark for method, for adding all the values. For adding all the values. Now, let's look at the possible answers or possible method to that. Some learners will divide by 12. Let's look if a learner divides that by 12. So if a learner divides by 12, a learner will get 2 out of 3. Now, let's look at there. It's 15. 15,000 divided by 12. Then the learner will get 1,250. And then learner goes on to divide the correct allowance, travel allowance, 7,500 by 12. And the learner will get 625. And then the learner will go on and say 5,200 plus 1250 plus 625. Now let's look at the mark allocations. The learner will forfeit 1 mark because remember that mark is an accurate mark. So there's no mark for dividing 15 by 12 because according to the information there up there, it's an accurate mark. So you are not going to give a learner that. And then you give a learner, if the learner got 625, you divide by dividing by 12, you see A that answer. You see A the answer, and the answer should be 625. And then the learner will add all the amounts there. The learner will add 5,200 plus the answers that you got after dividing those amounts by 12. And then we give 1 mark for method. 1 mark for method. So the learner will get 2 out of 3. Now let's look if the learner uses 2019 amount. And then when the learner uses 2019 amounts and divide by 10, so it will be 14,400 divided by 10. The learner will get 1,440. And then there is no mark for that. And then if learner continues to take the travel allowance of 2019, then the learner will take 7,350 divided by 10, and the learner will get 735. That's where you give 1 mark. Remember, it's a CA mark according to the original, that part of the memo on top there. And then for adding all 5,000, 1,440 and 735, you give a learner a method mark there. Now, the same 14,000, if it's divided by 12. Now, let's look what the learner will get. Right, 14,000 divided by 12, the learner get 1,200, no mark for that because it's an accurate mark. And then 7,350 is the travel allowance in 2019. The learner will get 612 and 50 cents. That's where you allocate 1 mark for CA, and then the total mark for adding 5,000 plus 1,200 plus 612 and 50 cents. You give 1 mark for method. 1 mark for method. I hope colleagues are capturing those options. I'll give you 1 mark. Not 1 mark, 1 minute to copy down those options. Now, from there, we're moving to 2.2.4. 2.2.4. Yeah, 2.2.4. 2.2.4. Right. We don't have time, colleagues. 224. One of the students complained. No, 223, sorry, 223. Write down the probability of grade 12 learner receiving NSFAS. NSFAS. 223, colleagues, 223. Now, the answer to that, the answer to 223, it's impossible, it's 0%. It's correct probability, it's an accurate mark. Correct probability, it's an accurate mark. Right, 224. 224, one of the students complained that the accommodation allowance increases in 2020 for students staying at a private-owned student accommodation. It's more than 3 times the travel allowance increase of 2.04%. Verify showing all calculations whether the student statement is correct. Right, there we don't have any option. 224. So it's 34,400 minus 32,000 divided by 32,000 multiplied by 100. You get 7.5%. Then you divide that 7.5% by 2.04. then you get 3,67647. Now let's look at the calculation of mark. It's 1 mark for substituting correct values. And correct values, we are talking about 34,000, those values which are there. And then another mark is for multiplying by 100. It's for multiplying by 100, which is a method mark. And then it's you see A there's a CA there of 7.5%. If the answer, you see a 1 mark for CA percentage, and then we have the 1 mark, 7, if that answer is wrong there, the learner will get a CA. Now, then if that we have a mark for MCA, 7.5, divide by that, it's MCA, and then a CA mark for 3,67647. Then a mark for verification, which is an opinion. A mark for the student is correct. Right, option 2, another option that we have there is that, and then after getting that, the substitution, multiply by 100, you get 7.5%. And then you divide 2.5% by 3. Then the answer, I think the answer should be that. And then the mark allocation, same thing. Substituting the correct values, getting the percentage, and then MCA for the dividing by 3, the percentage by 3, and method for verification, 1 mark for verification, and 1 mark CA the answer after dividing by 3, not 2.4. 2.4 is it's the first one, and then after dividing by 3. Right, that is 2.2.4. I hope I did justice to that. Let's move to 231. 231. Colleagues, I'm going to be faster. Time is against us. That is the information given to us. Rose did not qualify for NSFAS and so on. So that is the information given to us. Use the information above to answer the question that follow. 231. Determine the amount of VAT charged on the initiation fee. And the answer to that, it's 15 divided by 115 multiplied by that, you get 157 and 50 cents. Then allocation of mark, it's an accurate mark for percentage for dividing 15 by 115. And then MA, it's an accurate mark, method with accuracy for multiplying by 1,207. And then for getting the answer, which is 157 and 50 cents, is an accurate mark. Right. The next one, it's method with accuracy for dividing. Now, in this case, remember that amount is including VAT. For calculating amount excluding VAT, then the amount excluding VAT is 1,010. And then from there, you subtract 1,050 from 1,207 and 50 cents. Then the answer should be 157.50. Marks, dividing correct values. Those are the correct values with method with accuracy. And then we don't give for the answer. We give for subtracting amount excluding VAT from the amount including VAT, which is a method, MA method mark, and then an accuracy mark for 157. It's not a CA amount, it's an accurate mark, please. Answer only, it's 100 it's full marks. Question 2.3.2. It says Rose stated that the total loan value will be 19,364.25 more than the original amount if she paid it off over 24 months period. Verify showing all calculations. If Rose's statement is correct, it's 8 marks. Right, for 30,000 multiply by 24.5 is equals to that. So is according to the memo, just to save time, it's according to the memo. You only see A if one value. You see A there. Remember, there is a CA mark there. If one value is missing, then you see A. From there, we take the memo as it is. Time is against me, colleagues, because I have to be finished here by 1:15. And I'm still doing question 2. And we have 5 questions, which is not fair. Right. Question 2.3.3. It says state 2 reasons why a student will choose to study in a province different from their home province. Those are the reasons. Their courses, degree or diploma of interest is not offered in their province, freedom from parents to explore other provinces, influence of friends, any other relevant reason you give Elena marks. That was question 2. Now we move to question 3. Question 3, the information is given, colleagues. Then the questions, it says use the information on table 5 to answer the questions that follow. Write down in words the population of Nigeria. Question 3. Population of Nigeria. So the answer, it's 206,139,589. So that is the answer to that. That is the answer to that question. Right. 312. The 2021 actual annual population growth of Tanzania was 2.98% of 2020's population. Show that the difference in actual population growth for Tanzania between 2020 and 2021 is 51,325. So that is the answer. 59,734,218 multiplied by 2.98, then you get 1,780,079.69, and the answer will be rounded up as that answer. And then from there we get the difference. The difference will be 1,780,000 minus 1,728,755 rent, and then the answer should be 51,325. Remember, we were proving that. So we're not going to give mark for the answer. Right. 1 mark is MA calculating, multiplying by 2.98%, multiplying 59,734,218 by 2.98, and then you get the answer. It's an accurate mark. And then for rounding up that answer from 1,780,079.69, it's an accurate mark. And then for rounding that answer, you give Elena 1 mark. And then for subtracting, you give an MCA mark for subtracting. Now, if the learner used not working with Tanzania, the learner will get 2/4. And then if answer is a negative answer, the learner will get 1/4. The learner will get 1/4 for rounding up. I hope colleagues got that. 3.1.3. Show with calculations. Show with calculations how the population density for Ghana was calculated. And it's 37. You can see from the table it's 137. Right. The answer to that, it's those numbers, 31,072,940 rand. 940 divided by 227,540. Then the answer, I think there's a missing answer there. There's a missing number there. Colleagues will look for it. There's a missing number there. I think so. There's a missing number there. There's a missing answer there, number or value. Now, the answer will be RT, and RT, 1 mark for that, and 1 mark for denominator, 1 mark for numerator, 1 mark for denominator, and then 136,56, you see A that, the simplification. So it's 1 mark for RT, 1 mark for denominator, 1 mark for numerator, and you see A the answer. You see A the answer of 136,56. 314. 314. 314. Determine as a percentage the probability of selecting a country with the population growth of less than 500,000. So the answer will be for over 11 multiplied by 100, and the answer should be 36,36. No penalty for rounding, answer only. You give full marks. Now let's look at the answers. The mark allocation, it's MA dividing correct values, 4 divided by 11, and then 1 mark for multiplying by 100, which is a method mark, and then 1 CA, simplification, which is the answer. And then if the other options, if the learner write 0 divided by 11 multiplied by 100, the learner will forfeit 1 mark for dividing correct values, because the learner will be written what there? 0 divided by 11. And then the learner will get 1 mark for method, for multiplying by 100, and for getting the answer, which is the CA mark, is 0. But if the learner write one answer only, which is 0, the learner, without showing the calculation, the learner will get nothing for that. The learner will get 0 for that. Now 315, it says write down the modal population density. The answer to that is 4, nothing else. It's 4. So we're moving to 316. 316. A graph representing 316, a graph representing the actual annual population growth and the land area for some African countries has been drawn on answer sheet 2. Complete the graph for the South African actual annual population growth and land area. Now we're looking at South Africa here. Now there is the graph. There is the graph, and remember, for South Africa, there is the graph. Now let's look at the mark allocation. 1 mark is an accurate mark for plotting actual population growth. 1 mark for plotting actual population growth. And you see A, the drawing of the bar graph. Now that's CA if the learner used another number. If that mark on top is not correct, then you see A, the bar graph. It doesn't matter. You see A, the bar graph. 1 accurate mark for plotting length area. That is the graph there. And then CA, drawing the bar. If the learner drew a bar graph or a bar, not a bar graph, a bar, and it's incorrect, then you see that bar is the same as here when the learner drew a bar and it's incorrect, you see A. So the learner can get 2 out of 4 if the learner didn't plot correctly. The learner will get 2 out of 4 for, you see A, the bar for the population, and you see A, the bar for the land area. Right, 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. It says identify the number of COVID-19 deaths in the Eastern Cape. And the answer should be 5,493. It's an RT, 2 marks. Right, the next question is 3.2.2. Calculate the mean recoveries for these provinces: KwaZulu-Natal, Western Cape, and Eastern Cape. KwaZulu-Natal, Western Cape, and Eastern Cape. So it's 3 provinces. We want the mean. So if the learner used the correct values for those 3 provinces, recoveries, using the recoveries value, the learner will have those that calculation divided by 3, and the learner will get 124,218,3. You see A, and my method with accuracy there, the first calculation, it says MA, mean concept, and 1 CA for simplification. Now, any other province, if the learner uses any other provinces except those 3 provinces, the learner will get 0. And then if a learner uses incorrect values, or the learner will get 1/2. If the learner uses confirm and death or of the correct provinces, the learner will get 1/2. Incorrect values, learner will get 1/2. But remember, it should be confirmed and death of the 3 correct provinces. Then the learner will get 1/2. Incorrect values should be confirmed and death only. The learner will get 1/2 of the correct provinces. But if the learner uses other provinces, the learner will get 0 for that. 323. 323. It says the province with the largest geographical area shows the least numbers of confirmed cases and deaths due to COVID-19. Give 1 possible reason. The reasons to that, there is little movement of people from one area to the other, so that is the correct one. Or it has few numbers of people or low population. And then it goes on to say underreporting and unreported COVID statistics, because people did not test. People observe COVID-19. People observe COVID-19. Now, some learners will come with other reasons. If a learner, this one is any protocol listed. If they list one of these washing hands protocols, washing hands, sanitizing hands, or putting on a mask. Putting on a mask, then you give those learner marks, 2 marks. for listing the protocols. Then question 3.4. 3 to 4. Calculate the interquartile range for the confirmed cases in South Africa if the value for quartile is 28,014,5. Then you are given the formula. So there is the answer to that. 3 to 4, the arrangement. First is very important. You arrange. And then from there you calculate Q3. And the answer should be 151,689,5. Then you subtract, remember you're given Q1. You subtract Q1 from Q3, and then the answer should be 123,675. Now let's look at the marks. 1 mark for arranging correct values, and then 1 CA for value of Q3. For substituting correct values, 1 mark, and then you see A, the IQR value. You see A, the IQR value. Now let's look at the possible answers again. If the learners used death, so they are Q3 when they use the data for death. Their Q3 should be 5103. Remember on top there is a CA for Q3, and then from there the learner will subtract Q1 from Q3. But if you check for death, the learner, the Q3 is smaller than Q1. Then the learner will end up with a negative answer, which is negative 22,910,5. So you don't give a mark there. A mark will go for CA for calculating the Q3 using the death data, and then for substituting into Q3 minus Q1, substituting into the formula, 1 mark, and then you don't give a mark for a negative answer. Then still in question 3, we have that one, Q3. If the learner calculate Q3 using recoveries, then the answer will be 126,224. You see A that. And then for subtracting Q1 from Q3, you give 1 mark for substituting into the formula, and then 1 mark for getting the correct answer, which is 98,209,5. Colleagues should check those things, please. Should check those things, and then there is a CA mark for that. There is a CA mark for that. Now, that was the end of question 3. Just colleagues to capture, I'll give you 1 minute. Remember, I'm against time here. Right, question 4. Because I have to be finished by 1:15. Question 4. That is the information given to us. So I'm going straight to the question. 4.1.1, which of the amounts below represent the allocated amount for manufacturing of ventilators? Now the answer to question 4.1.1, it's B. It's either you write B or you write the amount, and make sure the correct letter or amount is there. Million is there. Million is there, 2,49. You cannot write you cannot write 249,41. If it doesn't have million, you are not going to get those marks. Make sure you don't give a learner if the word million is not there. Right. 4, and colleagues, make sure you read the explanation columns, please. And then we move to 4.1.2. 4.1.2, explain the meaning of that sign. That is the question for 4.1.2. In Eastern Cape, equipment and hospital donation and essential equipment funding for Gauteng. Now we want the meaning, or explain the meaning of that sign. That sign means no amount was used, or zero amount used, or zero in using numbers. So you'll give learners full marks if they wrote those two options or those three options. You give a learner full marks. 413. It is estimated that the total amount used will decrease by 5% in 2022/23, as many people would have been vaccinated or have developed natural immunity due to exposure to COVID-19. Calculate the new amount that will be budgeted for the in the 2022 and 2023 financial year. Right. This is the amount now. 413. That is the amount. That is the answer to 413. But let me say, if the learners are using that amount, learners will get 2 out of 3 instead of using 1,700,000 and what was that amount. Learners, if the learners are using that amount multiplied by 95, no, they are not using that. They are using this amount or this number or this value there. Learners should get 2 out of 3. So I'll urge the colleagues to do the calculations and see the correct answers for those learners if they are using this number here, if they are using that number. So I think the colleagues captured that one. And then 414, determine the percentage of the extra amount used for community health workers PPE funding. It's 4 marks. There is no other options for that. 4.1.4. There is no other options for that. But please, I urge you again, colleagues, let's read the explanation column. Let's see 1 mark for subtracting correct amounts. Those are the correct amounts. It's method with accuracy. And then 1 accurate mark for simplification. That is the simplified answer. And then percentage, it's a MCA. 1 mark MCA, calculating percentage of the amount allocated. And then you see the percentage. There's no penalty for rounding. Answer only, it's 4 marks. Answer only, 4 marks. And then we move to 415. 415, if the cost of vaccine is 140, determine the number of vaccines that were already ordered. 415, there is no other option. So 1 mark, it's an accurate mark for numerator, an accurate mark for denominator. You see A, the number of vaccines, and then you, for rounding down, not up in this case, for rounding down, it's 1 mark. For rounding down, it's 1 mark. So please, let's ensure that we interpret the memo according to the explanation column. That was 415. We don't have other options. 416. 416. That is the question. There are 59.62 million people in South Africa. Determine the fraction in the simplest form of the population that will be vaccinated with the vaccines that were already ordered. Here you see A. Remember, already you have calculated the number of vaccines from 4.1.5. So you see A from 4.1.5. You see A from 4.1.5. Writing the number in full. Which number? 59. This one. The denominator. Writing the denominator in full. You give 1 mark. Dividing values in the correct order. It's method with accuracy. In the correct order. That is a method. And then for answer, it's a CA simplification. Or you convert that number that you got there into millions, and then you still write that still in millions. You don't write it in full. So let's check for writing the number in millions, which number? The numerator, and then dividing values in the correct order. This is the order. 1 mark. And then for the answer, you see A, answer only, it's full marks. Answer only is full marks. 421. Let's move quickly. 421. 421. Right, 421. We have the information. There is information for 4.2 that we are going to use to answer the questions. Right, let's look at the first question. 421. The first question, it says, identify the maximum age covered by the growth chart. The question to that, the answer to that, it's 36 months or 3 years. So the marks, it's 2 marks for reading from the table. Reading from the table the correct age. Then we move to 422. Between which 2 percentile curves on the chart will a 30-month-old boy with a weight of 13 kilogram be? In which 2 percentile? In which 2 percentile curves? So the answer will be the 25th percentile and the 50th percentile. So 1 mark for reading from the table, first percentile, and then another mark for second percentile curve, which is 50. Right. 423. It says, if a 12-month-old boy has a length for age relationship that is positioned on the 75th percentile curve on the growth chart, what does this mean? Now, that is the explanation. It means 75% of all other boys have a length for age value that is lower than this child. Or it means that 25% of all other boys have a length for age value that is higher than this child. That is 4.2.3. Now we are moving to 4.2.4. 4.2.4, which is the last question under question 4. An overweight person is at risk of falling ill. What advices can you give to a mother of a 2-year-old boy to avoid this problem? 424. Right, now we want the reasons. Remember, it's a 2-year-old boy. So here are the reasons: to lose weight, avoid fats, eat healthy, and avoid sweets, sugar, or any other relevant reason. Any other relevant reason. But remember, reason must be related to a 2-year-old boy. You cannot say a 2-year-old boy should go to gym, because that boy is 2 years old. It's 2 years old. So all the reasons must be related to a 2-year-old boy. I hope that is clear. I hope that is clear. Any other relevant reason, but those reasons must be related to a 2-year-old boy. So that was question 4. I'm left with 20 minutes to do question 5. I'm left with 20 minutes to do question 5. So let's see. Let's see. Question 5. Question 5. You are given table 8 and annexure. Use the information on annexure C to answer the questions that follow. Calculate the total income for marking for each group of markers in a hall if they worked as follows. Senior marker 130 hours, and each marker 121 hours. So let's look at the answer to that question. It's 1 multiplied by 241,40 multiplied by 130, that is for senior marker, and then plus 5 times 222 rand and 80 cents multiplied by 121, that is for a marker. And by that 5 stand for number of markers, which is 5 markers. Then you multiply and then you get the answers, which is 31,382 rand for senior marker, and then 134,794 rand for 5 markers, and then all in all, they will get 166,176 rand. Now let's look at the marks. There's no possible answer to that. It's 1 mark, RT mark, for tariffs, which is 241,40 and 222,80. And then another mark will be a method mark multiplying with markers. 1 senior marker multiplied by 5 markers respectively. 1 mark for adding, it's a method mark. And then 1 simplification mark. And then you see A the total. We have the total there. You see A the total. So it's like that. Make sure you check it thoroughly. Using the when you mark it, make sure you use the explanation column. We move to 5.2. 5.2. Calculate the range of the marking personnel. Calculate the range of the marking personnel. Now range is highest minus the lowest. So that is the range. Now let's look. We have 2,131. You subtract 23. Then you get 2,108. And then the answer, the marks allocation It's 1 mark MA, method with accuracy for subtracting correct values. And then you simplify, 1 mark for simplification. And if the learner decides to write answer only, you give that learner full marks. You give the learner full marks. Right, we're moving on, 5.3. 5.3. It says the incomplete tally for representing the number of center managers is drawn below. Complete the tally in your answer book. Complete the tally in your answer book. So you're supposed to write the answer book. You check that answer book. Teachers, please make sure you check that. Now, when they complete, that is the answer for 5.3. That is the answer they have. That and that. So mark allocation 1A first tallies of 5 and 1 accurate mark for second tally or tallies of 3. So that is mark allocation according to our explanation column. According to our explanation column. Right. 5.4. 5.4. It says determine as a decimal fraction the probability of randomly selecting an examination assistant from the marking personnel. Right. Let's look at that. 5.4 says determine as a decimal fraction. It's a decimal fraction. The probability of randomly selecting an examination assistant. So we have 442 examination assistant over the total of EAs. Over that total. Then you get the answer of 0,1667. Remember they said as a decimal fraction. Now let's look at the mark allocation. It's MA dividing correct values. Mark with accuracy dividing correct values. And then you see A probability as a decimal. And remember, guys, when you see A, make sure that one of the values is correct. You see A if one of the values is correct there. Right. Answer only, full marks. No penalty for rounding. No penalty for rounding. So the learner will write, some learners will write 0,2. Some learners will write 0,17. You see, so no penalty for rounding. No penalty for rounding. That was 5.4. Now, the last question of this question paper for question 5 says calculate the net amount Busiswa will receive after tax if the following is relevant to her claim at marking center. Was appointed as a chief marker, that is Busiswa. She traveled 165 kilometers from her home to the marking venue, claimed 137 hours for marking, taxed 36% of marking dues or money. Now let's calculate the net amount Busiswa will receive. Now on the memo, let's see what do we have there. Now we're going to start by checking the traveling amount. So remember Busiswa traveled 165 kilometers. You multiply by that by 2 because there's a return. She has to go home, and then is 3 rand, 75 per kilometer. Then all in all, she will receive the traveling allowance of, or traveling amount of 1,224.30. And then we move to the amount, the mark allocation for that. The mark allocation for that will be 1 MA multiplying 165 by 2 and multiplying by the tariff for 1 kilometer is 3 rand 71. And then you see aided traveling amount. You see aided traveling amount. Marking amount due, then 272 per hour, 50 multiplied by 137 hours. And then she will receive 38,154.50. And then mark allocation, multiply MA for multiplying 278.50 by the tariff. And then you see A, the amount, which is 38,154.50. It says CA, the amount claimed. CA, the amount claimed. Now you go to tax. Now, tax is 38,154.50. You multiply by 36%, 36 divided by 100. Then the tax amount will be 13,735.62. And then the mark allocation for multiplying MCA calculating 36% and 1 CA amount of tax. 1 CA amount of tax. Then the net, it's 38,154 minus 50. You subtract the tax, which is 13,735.62. And then the answer will be 25,643.18. No, and then you add, you should add, when you subtract the 38,150.50, when you subtract the tax amount, you get 24,418.88. Then to that amount you add, remember the traveling amount is not taxed, so you add the traveling amount, which is 1,224.30. Then the answer will be 25,643.18. Now let's look at the mark allocation. 1 mark adding tax and traveling. In other words, adding less tax. In other words, after subtracting from the tax from that amount, then we will get 24,418. So for adding those two amounts, it's a MCA mark for adding 24,418.88 plus the traveling amount, which is 1,224.30. Then you give an MCA mark, and then you see A simplification. After adding, you see A simplification. So that is question 5, and I hope colleagues have captured everything. If you didn't capture everything, I think IBP will post the video and then you'll check it on at your own time. But I hope that if you colleagues will help. If you have questions regarding some of the things on the memo, please contact your subject advisor in your district to explain some of the answers there. Thank you very much.